Hey Computer, Play About Bees podcast.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of About Bees, Culture, and Curiosity with Ron Miksha
and Bidzina Moseshvili.
And Bidzina, today we have a very special guest. We've got Chief Lee Crowchild from the Tsuut'ina Nation.
Good afternoon to the both of you.
Thanks,
I'm glad to
Chief.
be here.
Thank you, Chief Crowchild.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. And the reason we've got you on here today, the biggest reason, because nobody else would, none of the other guests would show up. No. Let's be honest. The biggest reason is because you are a beekeeper and you ran a big community project.
Yes, I did.
And we want to hear about that.
Okay.
So, first of all, the folks are going to see a picture of you. For those who are watching as a video cast, those who are listening, we're going to try to describe the pictures as we go along.
All right.
Yes.
So, introduction.
Yeah.
Chief Crowchild.
Chief Crowchild. I guess my formal title is Chief Lee Crowchild. In our language, we say Hakiche, Chatinete Kaze Ata. That would be my formal way in the traditional language. But Chief Lee Crowchild is what I'm formally known as. I am Tsuut'ina, and Tsuut'ina is part of all the Dene. Just so you give context for that, Dene are down south are Apaches and Navajos, and they go even further south than that. And north, all of those that are Dene, Beaver, Chippewan, and we even go all the way into Siberia with the Ket. That's all the language group, Athabascan language group.
Oh.
Tsuut'ina itself is not far from the university here.
The Sutina
Calgary's
Nation.
occupied our land, yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that picture there, and in the background you see my teepee. I am the holder of the bee teepee, as you can see there. To go into the whole story about that is quite a long narrative. I just can't put it all together. But it's important to know that when I was growing up, when I was young, and I grew up pretty much in the teepee all summertime with my grandparents and that. When I wake up in the morning or whenever I'm sitting there, you see the images of the bees on the inside of the teepee, and so it brings back memories to me. But also, I never knew I would actually be a beekeeper, but always something kept buzzing in my head. I guess you could say.
And this teepee here, it's I've never actually seen a teepee like this. I've come across. I grew up in Calgary, so you've seen teepees around, and it's very colorful. There's patterns at the bottom of it. You got dots, blue, green, black, and red dots going in a pattern all across the bottom, and then you have a bee. Is that what type of bee would that be?
Well, honeybees were never natural, or they're not originally from North America. So this one would actually be a wasp.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I see. So there's a wasp. It's a very beautiful design. What is it holding there?
That's the sun.
That's okay. Wow. So it's a wasp that's holding the sun, and then above it you have the same color patterns as the dots, but now in stripes at the top.
Right.
So do these represent anything?
Well, they do. I'm just going to give you a standard version of that. The dots on the bottom, they actually represent what's underground. And some people would say it represents the stone people, and the grandfathers that come from that. Others would say that it represents if you look on the prairie, you see the big puffball mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people say that those are the remnants of the star people that came, and were here before us, and they're the ones that laid the foundation for existence.
Wow. And what the wasp holding the sun there? What does that represent? Is that
like I said, that's the long story. Maybe that's a story for another episode.
Okay.
It's just a very long story.
I see.
But the wasp is related to the bee.
Yeah.
Right.
And there were certainly a lot of native bees
Yeah.
in Alberta when you were a child growing up. All kinds of, I think we have 15 different species of bumblebees in our general area, and that would include Sutina, of course. And so that's a very common. This does look a little more like the stylistic bee. Looks a bit more like a wasp, but I actually would, in my mind, when I first looked at it, I thought it was some type of a bee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everybody knows wasps, especially at this time of year.
Oh boy.
You know, so that's why. But it really represents the bees and the bee family, I guess, is what you would say.
Right.
The beings.
Beings.
Yeah, and,
Like
and that would be everything, like all the different variations of bees,
Yes.
including honeybees.
Yes.
You know, in the early on in the episodes, it might have been even episode 0 or 1. We were talking about ants, and Ron said, "Well, ants are ancestors are wasps. So wasps came first, and then they were ants." And I'm like, I thought it was the other way around, but then I searched up, and you were actually right. So wasps are actually the first. It was wasps first,
Okay.
and then wasps, and then ants and bees afterwards.
Okay. Like I'm kind of surprised that I'd be right about that, since I was just making it up on the fly.
Well, they are
Making it up on the fly. Yeah.
Now I get it.
Yeah, okay.
But, yeah, no, exactly. Like I was surprised to hear that actually wasps were the
They're
first.
so closely related, all these social insects. And so was there some like family lore that you had? Did other people have a bee on their teepees as well? Or was that specific
To that bee design has been in for generations. So it was well before my time and well before recorded time. It was always in existence.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and my family just became the holders of it. We can never say the owners because we don't own anything, but we're the holders of this particular design and the responsibilities that go with it.
Well, then you really did get into the responsibility going with bees, because you
I guess so.
really you've become so involved with bees of all sorts, and you had the honeybee project,
Yep.
the community project at Tsuut'ina that we'll be getting to in a moment.
Well, one of the things with the bee teepees, you have to get reminded about your responsibilities. And it usually comes by when you get stung. They come by and they tell you, this is your responsibilities.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Bidzina gets stung every time he's in the bees, and I almost never get stung. And I work without gloves, without a veil. I just without
you're a braver
shoes.
person than me.
No, I'm beginning to think it's not so much the bravery as what you just said, and that's the sense of responsibility, being reminded by the bees, and maybe the bees are comfortable with my attitude towards it, my responsibilities that I.
Well, they would know that. They would
see.
know that. You know?
Yeah, they could certainly sense a lot of
Yeah,
things.
because it's about that symbiotic relationship. You know, I think that I know my auntie. She used to hold this teepee before me, and every year she would get stung once because maybe there's a year when she didn't set up the teepee.
Okay.
And they say, "Why are you?" Well, you know, they come and say, "Well, we're going to sting you because you didn't do that."
Yes.
You know, we need to be on display for a bit.
And is inside of the teepee? Is it kind of? Are people allowed to know what's inside of there, or is it sacred?
It's just the inside of the teepee.
Okay.
You know, because we used to live in those things. There used to be curtains because between the outside and the poles and the inside, you have to create this air barrier around.
Right.
You know, so the way this one is set up, there are no curtains on the inside. It's just the teepee itself. But because when we used to live in there, it was put in that way. You put the teepee in there, and you put the fire towards the front of the teepee. You know, people think it's right in the center, but it isn't. It's more to the front, because you have to be realistic about its flow, its heat. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you're by the entrance, like where the door would be?
No, you're back from there, but you're just not right under the top.
Not in the center.
Not in the center. You're just a little bit forward of that.
And that was just to keep the heat distributed around for everybody. Like if you put it in the center, it would probably just burn, and the heat would go straight up out the top.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's in a cone, because the heat gets pushed down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mind you, nowadays they're all made out of canvas, so canvas is canvas. It doesn't hold heat as much.
Yeah.
But in the old days, it was buffalo hides,
It was multiple buffalo hides.
multiple buffalo hides sewn together.
Wow.
They were heavy, but they were functional.
Yes.
And it's somewhat, well, it's heat resistant as well, right? The buffalo hide, once it's kind of cured and...
It's, well, the hair is taken off, and it's just more waterproof than that, and heat can stay in that much more.
Right.
You know. But a lot of these teepees, they symbolize our connection to the outside, to not just the material world, but the spiritual world. You know, because we always try to acknowledge that the circles on top of the ear flaps and that they represent the different constellations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
At the top there?
yeah, at the top there.
So in Tsuut'ina tradition, you had lots of dark nights where you could lie out on the grass and look up at the sky.
I guess so, yeah.
And you're talking about the constellations.
It means that your teepee got stolen if you woke up.
Yeah, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you can see the stars, then your teepee's gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Besides that, if you went outside the teepee at night and you looked up, you probably had a really, really good clear sky because there aren't
There was no light pollution.
light pollution. And you had named constellations?
Yeah, there is named constellations. There are a few that are much more significant than others. You know, there was certainly the Big Dipper. And the other one is Pleiades. You'll see a lot of teepees will have the symbol of Pleiades on theirs. Because in our traditional ways, we kind of believe that that's where we come from that other star that you can't see.
Oh, yeah. I remember, obviously the Greeks could also see Pleiades. And in the Greek tradition, or at least one of the stories they told, was that when a young man was going to be going into the army, he had to be able to look up and count the number of stars he could see. And that told everybody how good his eyesight was. And you said there's a star that people don't usually see. And I guess if you have extremely good eyesight, you can see more stars in that cluster than obviously I ever would.
I wonder if how much that has affect eyesight, seeing the stars and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think it was so much about the eyesight, whether you can see it or not. It's
Okay.
just the knowledge that it was there, and the knowledge of that's where, when we say we pass on, we're going home, that's where we're going. You don't have to see, you just have to know that it's there.
Well, that is so cool. That is really interesting that the tradition was that people originated from there and their souls would go back.
I guess you could say it's souls. Like I said earlier, we're all Dene, and one of them are Apaches. And have you ever seen Apaches? They have a particular dance called the crown dance. And they have these elaborate headpieces.
Oh, yes.
And their faces are all covered, and you can't see them. And their bodies are painted in different designs and that. So they dance around, and this is what I've been told, is that they dance around in a particular way. It's not really random. But it's why do they have dressed like that and why they have those crowns? They say when the people that brought us here, when they come back, they gave us this dance and this is the way they look so we wouldn't be scared of them when they come back. That's what I've been told.
Yeah. No, that's something.
You have to ask real Apaches to know that,
Yes.
the whole details of that.
Yes.
So to make them feel more comfortable when they would...
Make us feel more comfortable, not them.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we wouldn't be afraid.
Oh, that's so.
A lot of things that we do, like is so we don't be afraid of what our relationship to nature is. When you go into the non-native world and say any city or any town and that, you lose contact with the natural world,
Right.
and you become afraid. And that's sort of why we do these things, so we understand our relationship.
No, I agree. It's we were with the kind of going back to kind of Daniel's episode now when you said we're afraid, and we were talking about the dark and how like darkness has become like people are afraid of dark, and I wonder if you compare that between like like people living in the city versus people like hermit kind of life or homesteaders. I wonder if their children have the same attitude towards light as compared to city children. Like, let's say if you grew up on a farm and you're not really used to light that much. I mean, yeah, you're not used to light at night. Would that be much of an issue because you're used to it versus a city kid when you've been used to light all your life and anytime the lights turn off, you're scared? Or when you think, I don't know.
Oh, I think I know what you're saying. Are you afraid of light? I don't think too many people are afraid of light.
Like dark, I mean. Sorry.
Darkness. But
yeah.
the fear of darkness or fear of unknown,
Right.
it exists, and it gets that myth is perpetuated a lot. And in our experiences, it came from Christianity.
Right.
You know, when the churches came and they told us to be afraid of everything. You know, if you're not afraid, then you're not a good Christian.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. In quite a few of the denominations, quite a few of the faiths, they really want to scare people into obedience.
Yeah, fear is the hammer that they love to use.
And it's the polarization, light and darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, good and evil.
Yeah. Well, we had Daniel, my son, on here a few weeks ago, and we had him talk about whether or not bees can feel pain. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we discussed there was the idea that people basically, if they we're talking about Europeans in this situation, if they were taught to be afraid of the dark, even before organized religion, it was intended to keep them from being eaten by the wolves. Mm. So, they'd be told stories. You go out in the dark and it's not going to be safe. And the people who did, according to some science, the people who didn't live to have children. And that created more and more safety conscious kind of people. So people became more, worried about getting in a situation where they can end up getting eaten by those wolves.
So I guess that kind of natural psychology that is in our brain is kind of exploited by organizations like the church.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not just that. I mean, it can't limit it to just that. Of course, there's, your knowledge of the natural world, your knowledge of how to navigate in the darkness, in the bush.
Right. If you have that, why would you be afraid?
Yeah. All my uncles and all those are hunters. They'd be gone and they wouldn't get back till it was really dark.
Right.
Did you worry about them? No, not really, because they're okay. And they would show up and, cook. But nowadays, if somebody is missing in the dark for 15 minutes, where he takes over.
That's right.
Yep.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have when there's no people are so afraid of the light, like some sort of catastrophe happening where the grid goes out, and what are we going to do with no lights, and what are we going to do with no electricity, but that was most people existed like that about 70 years ago. About 50% of the world wasn't really connected to the electricity.
I remember one story. I used to work with Inuit young people years ago, and they'd be transported from way up north. They're coming for whatever reasons, A lot of it was for care. But this one young man, he was only there for a night, and then he disappeared. And the police were looking. Everybody's looking for him and that. But where does he pop up? He pops up at the airport.
Wow!
And from where he was staying to where the airport is, that's opposite parts of the city. How he got there? I asked him, how'd you get there? He says, I just followed the planes, the light of the planes.
Oh, wow.
Because for him, the airport was get ready to go home. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
how old? What was the age?
I think he was about 14 then.
I see. So he wouldn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was about 15, 20 years ago. Wow. Yeah, but he had that ability. He wasn't lost. He just wanted to go home, so he followed all the signs How you got across Deerfoot Trail, I have no idea.
Wow.
And all of those things.
Wow.
No, yeah, they say that, right? Like if you, a lot of times when people get lost in a forest and they get found a week later or a week and a half, and they're like, I've been walking for kilometers and kilometers, and then they actually track them down, and they see they just been walking in circles. Just and I guess when you're in panic state, it is what it is. But it's
How did we get over here to talking about the light and the dark? And I guess because of the
teepee.
The teepee.
Yeah.
And in the picture that people who are listening and not watching cannot see, we have a gorgeous picture here of Chief Crowchild's teepee, his family sort of design, and the chief is in front of that. And around the background, the scenery is a lot of what would you call it, like brush country,
Yeah, a lot of
small
willows,
trees,
yeah.
a lot of willow,
Poplars.
Roses.
Yep.
Yep. And I have a couple of pictures here that I'd really like the chief to describe. They were taken on the Tsuut'ina Nation, and everybody describes Tsuut'ina as a beautiful place, and it absolutely is. You've got the mountains not too far away with snow-capped mountains nearby. So a lot of homes on the nation can actually see the mountains from their house.
Yep.
And all the homes are just settled in beautiful nature. So what are we looking at here?
Well, the first picture, the bigger picture, is a buffalo in the background there. We actually have a herd of about 350 buffalo.
350? Wow.
Yeah, we take care of them. They were given to us originally back in the 70s. I think it was 25 buffalo from Wood Buffalo National Park, or Elk Island.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, that's where they were given to us from that. And they, at that time, they were the plains bison. They were the pure breed of plains bison.
So these were wild bison?
They're wild, but they're not. They were taken care of by the province and that. And they gave us 25, and we built the whole enclosure for them.
So the buffalo in the north are actually plains buffalo.
They're wood buffalo up in the north.
Oh,
Those
they're
are
wood buffalo up there. Okay.
Yeah, the plains buffalo or bison, they're a smaller variety of them.
Okay.
And they're not as much as the wood buffalo because historically they were all slaughtered.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, we do look after, we have a buffalo program.
Yeah, 350 is a lot of buffalo. And these are all on the Tsuut'ina Nation?
Yep, all in our enclosure there.
Wow.
Every year, we harvest a dozen of them. And we do it with ceremonial a lot. It's not just pick up a gun and then shoot it. No, they're selected. And they usually come forward and they're willing to say, take me. So most of them are young bulls.
Yeah.
And I've heard that once a bison bull dominates a herd, it has exclusive rights to the mating. The other bulls have to or can multiple bulls mate in a herd? Or
well, just ask how many wives do you have? You're the dominant one.
Right. So
it's no different, male, female. Bulls will fight over each other over the size of their herds.
Yes, but like once the one bull has won, he'll dominate an entire 100 female. No, okay.
No buffalo can do that.
Okay.
You're thinking of walruses.
That they do that. You're right.
Yeah.
And in the next picture, so that's nice. I'll just describe it a little bit. You did already, but what is the bush that's in the front there that's kind of silver colored?
That's Wolf Willow.
Wolf Willow, okay.
Yeah, that Wolf Willow is an invasive species.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it's not natural to North America. It's brought over by the English.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it's ornamental. It looks nice.
It looks really nice, but it's wild and it grows everywhere.
Yeah, because it's invasive. It just took over.
And there was a very famous book written by a Pulitzer Prize winner, Wallace Stegner, called Wolf Willow. And that takes place in the town of East End, Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
And it's about the title of it is Wolf Willow, but it's about a boy growing up in areas similar to this.
Yeah, it just came with colonization.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
It has no, as far as I know, it has no cultural value to any of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there,
Yeah.
much like any other invasive species.
Yes.
It's wild how that's like when one species, it might not be so successful in one area, but then it's brought over to an area where it never has existed and it just thrives.
It thrives.
Like I think Asian carpfish is a good example of because in the area that it's in, it's fine. It's the other predators can deal with it, but then it's brought over to North America, and then they can't. This carpfish is everywhere in the Mississippi River and whatnot.
Right.
This is kind of a tangent, but it's wild how that happens when like it gets brought over and it thrives, but in its original area it wasn't doing so well.
So Chief Crowchild, you have spent time looking for native plants and documenting them and
as best I could.
Yeah. And do you like what is there? Like what kind of plants?
Well, most of my study was on mushrooms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. On my
Is there a
nation,
lot of native?
Most of them,
Bless you.
all mushrooms are native because the spores can travel all over the world
Oh, I see.
by trade winds, and that spores are really light.
Mm-hmm.
But some prosper more than others. So when we did our study, we identified just 176 species. There's more that we didn't classify, but 176 species that about 70% of them are edible, and about another. And then within that, there's about 70% are medicinal. So they have a lot of medicinal properties.
So that would add up to almost half of the mushrooms that you found have some medicinal properties.
Yeah, over half.
Over half.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's knowledge that we don't actually know a lot about. We do, but not. So in order to do this study, I had to bring in 3 mycologists. 2 in Alberta, 1 from Oregon, I believe. And then a whole bunch of people that just love looking for mushrooms. That's how we gathered it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is there any unique mushrooms in Alberta?
Oh, there's lots. You have to ask the specialists about what they are. I think what was it? Is the red top? I think is the provincial mushroom. I think it's that one. I can't remember now. But there is.
Actually, I don't know why. I usually have my computer with me. I don't know why I don't have it out. I just didn't want to get too sidetracked by it.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We've got the expert right here.
Yeah.
So I have never trampled around looking and documenting the native species of anything. So I just find that really intriguing.
Yeah.
How long ago did you do that?
Oh, gee, that's got to be about over 15 years ago now. Yeah, so it was a while ago.
Yes.
And then looked at other species at risk, mammals and that.
Oh.
Yeah. So
And what do we have among those, the mammals that are at risk that might be surviving on Tsuut'ina Nation?
Well, I haven't been able to confirm northern leopard frogs. The swift fox too. I'm not sure about those, and why I look at those is because they have a lot of cultural reference to it. Certainly we had the plains bison; they were at risk at one time.
Yes.
And I have to say, ours are not the pure plains bison anymore. They've been mixed with wood bison. So and there's other Sprague's pipit too. I wasn't sure about that one. The burrowing owl.
Oh, those are nice.
Yeah.
When we came over to Canada in 2005, 2006, my brother-in-law, he loved mushroom hunting, and he would go out by himself. He wouldn't tell anyone where the location would be or where he would be going.
Yeah.
And go and hunt mushrooms, and then come back with pretty good ones, and they would taste delicious. And ones that we would try to kind of match it up with the ones that we'd find back home or whatnot.
Right.
We're like, this is the one that we remember. And anyways, he would never tell us about the locations. We would try to get it out of him, and he's like, nope, that's my hidden. So is there certain areas where it likes to grow, or certain mushrooms?
I think you find it all across Alberta. There's no. Maybe we do have some that, because a lot of our land is kind of untouched, so things grow the way they do. Mm-hmm. I'm not the mushroom expert. I have a friend, Martin, who's a mycologist. He's the expert that knows, and he'll tell me things. Mm-hmm. We compiled a bit of an inventory of what we have there too.
I see.
Yeah. But it was part of the relationship building. Like, we're talking about symbiotic relationship. We don't know, like, I'll just use the example of mushrooms. We knew it was important, or I did when I was there, but I didn't know I didn't know one from the other. So I had to build a relationship with the Alberta Mycology Society. And in that relationship, we were able to get what we need to do this study. And that's important is, and this is what you learn from the bees too, is the how you establish those relationships. I think that's one of the takeaways from working with bees. They remind you, it isn't just about how you take care of bees, but what is your symbiotic relationship to everything around?
Yeah, sometimes we were talking in our bee group right now, the Calgary Beekeepers Association. There's a talk about wasps, and should we kill the wasps, and what are we going to do about the wasps that are killing our bees? And I don't know. I personally just let them be. I try to protect them from the entrances, but I don't know. I don't really know what to do about them, because at the end of the day, they're all like, what do we do, right? I'm sure it's not good for my bees, but that's mm-hmm. the only thing. It's not good for my bees. And what about all the other things that it's, because I've heard that farmers are actually releasing wasps to take care of pests naturally way. So these wasps will go out and kill all these pests on their crops without having to spray. So they'll actually buy wasps and release them.
Well, I think when you talk about people and worried about their bees and that, the question comes to my mind is, are you worried about what you think belongs to you?
Right, exactly.
Or are you?
That's what they're.
Yeah, because
they're like, this is mine. Why are the wasps getting it? But really, it came from this flower source.
I remember yesterday I was in another meeting with the mayor and this whole committee and that. There's a bunch of older people than me, elders. And we got around talking about water. It just popped up. That's not why we were there. We were talking about water. And this one man, he says, well, when I drink water, I drink just what I need at that moment. Because I know wherever I'm going to go, there's going to be water there. And that's a reflection to the way it was long ago.
Right.
We only take what we need. That was what he was saying. Mm-hmm. But nowadays you see people, especially here in Calgary, what's happening right now. Everybody wants to hoard water.
Right.
For fear of what the future is, and yet you don't need to hoard. You just take what you need and let everything take care of itself. And I don't mean that in a flippant way. I mean that. We have to talk about why are we being so possessive of what we think is ours. Bees are not ours,
right?
Or any of the honey. We take care of them. We take care of them. That's our responsibility. For any beekeeper, we take care of bees. And some of us do good jobs, and some of us, like me, don't.
Oh,
but we try.
Come on, no, you know what you're doing. Well, I do want to get back to just a couple more pictures, and then we're going to really get into the bee discussion here in just another moment. But the other two pictures that we have up on the screen at the moment are a marsh area, a lake, mm-hmm. and we have, it looks like a field of Saskatoons, maybe?
It looks like it. I mean, I know that marsh you're talking about. And I know that duck, and his name escapes me, but he's got a white beak.
That's not George the duck, is it?
No. But that's actually not far from my place.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have a.
Is that near the school?
Yeah, I got an aquatic place there, and
I think I took that picture when I went out to visit you one time.
As small as that little little ponds and everything. It's actually really important for migration, because migration comes in that place there's no space for any other wildlife. They're just all there all of a sudden.
Yes.
And that's their stop-off point, and then they'll go to the fields and they'll eat, and then they'll move on.
I've seen beaver in that spot
Yeah,
too.
there's beaver in there too. Yeah.
So did they build that lake, the beaver?
No, there's one that's artesian that built that little lake there. But where the spillover is, yes, they did cover that. But there's nothing there right now. It's just so dry and this.
Oh, we've had a dry summer. That's for sure.
It's been like that for a few years though.
But you do have quite a bit. I don't know the proportion, the number, the amount of water on Tsuut'ina, but there are lakes and sloughs and marshes and ponds.
Yeah, we don't really have a big lake per se. I mean, the one pond I'm talking about is about the size of a big lake, is what we have.
Mm-hmm.
We have lots of springs where artesian water comes out of. We have lots of those all over.
That's really an unusual thing. I don't know too many places really that have artesian springs. So these are springs where the water is coming from the mountains somewhere, going underground, and then popping up between cracks in the rock.
Yeah.
And that would be really fresh, clean water too.
Yep, it is. I mean, they come from, a lot of it comes from the Saskatoon aquifer that extends all the way from Jasper all the way down here.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So the Bragg Creek runs through Tsuut'ina, right?
Yeah.
And that connects with Fish Creek?
Mm-mm.
And is there other tributaries that run through Tsuut'ina?
Well, we have Elbow River.
Elbow River also runs through? Oh,
and then we have Wolf Creek. Well, everybody calls it Fish Creek now. Everybody knows Fish Creek, but originally it was Wolf Creek.
It was originally Wolf Creek.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
those are the two main streams that flow through. Wolf Creek isn't that big. It comes from the mountains, but it doesn't come from Elbow River. It's just up in Bragg Creek area, there's a bit of a separation there. And I think that most of that water is probably artesian.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's the source. That's where it starts, is artesian water.
Sorry, the Wolf Creek name, was it because there's a lot of like wolves in the area or living in there?
I don't know.
Or is it just that's what it was just called?
Mazine, I don't know the origins of, but I just know that that's what it was known as,
Okay.
Wolf Creek. I mean, we had lots of wolves before, sure, because we have another place that's called Wolf Flats. We had a company that looked after explosive ordnance that was called Wolf Flats as well. So there's a lot of wolves there, and you hear them once in a while coming through.
I hear coyotes all the time.
Oh, lots of coyotes everywhere.
Yeah, there was howling.
And the final picture. So we've looked at a picture that had buffalo and a picture that has a duck named George, maybe. And then we have one more picture on the screen at the moment, and that is some planted acreage of Saskatoons, which are also being grown on Tsuut'ina.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have some fruit farms, or some people are growing, and they need bees for pollination of these things.
Yeah. When I got that original site for bees, I planted a lot of Saskatoon and raspberry bushes and that. Because Saskatoons, we have a relationship with Saskatoons as well. Everything we have a relationship with. Yeah.
But this is a close relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes from the bush to my mouth mostly. That's how close.
Oh, I love Saskatoons too. Yeah.
You just eat them raw, or you like to?
I like them any way I can get them. You know, I pick them right off the bush, and those are really good, especially when they're in mid-July when they're at their juiciest.
Right. And that's the picture down there, huh?
No, that would be about June, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that would have to be spring, and then by August.
By August, Saskatoons are kind of at the end already.
At the end, yeah.
And whatever you see there is kind of dried out already.
Mm-hmm. So that's a quick, short season, but that's the kind of plant that does the best here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, why don't I move this on a little bit here?
Bees like them, right? Saskatoon berries?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill.
So you had a beekeeping project.
Yes.
Can you just kind of describe a little bit of how that started? How did you get started in bees to begin with? You said that you didn't really know about bees when you were a kid.
No, I didn't know about that. But when I got to an age where I got to think about, well, what am I going to do for retirement? And then it just popped up in my head. It says, you should look at beekeeping. I don't know how that thought got there. It just got there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started looking, well, what is this about beekeeping? And I found a place just north of Calgary, just near north of Airdrie too. And this lady, she's a beekeeper. And so I drove up there and I said, this is kind of interesting and that, And we talked and she says, I can give you a package.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it home and just going by what instructions you told me, and I went online and kind of figured. So I kind of butchered my way through that is what I'm saying.
Oh, it's hard when you, when you're first starting, it's really hard.
So I thought, if I can pursue this, maybe that there is a chance for some sort of retirement. So the first year we just let them do what they did. She said, you just have to watch them. Me and my older mentor William, we kind of watched it. We bought bee suits,
Mm-hmm.
and we everywhere we could think of, we covered up.
Yeah.
We didn't want to get stung.
Yeah.
And we had our first sample of honey in towards the end of June, and we just, this could be this, and we just had these big ideas of everything.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what happened. And then I thought I covered them up for the winter and that, and then in the spring I was looking, I didn't see no bees, and that's when I met you.
Yes.
I said, Ron, can you come out and look at my beehive? Yeah, I don't know. I don't see anything. And well, they all died. They all froze to death. But I didn't know. I just didn't know. But that's where the interest started. So,
was I kind of rude about that?
No, not at all.
Okay, good.
Because we didn't know anything.
This picture that you got up here, Ron, so is this your first year?
No. Well, the first year of bringing in bees.
And that's you on the
far right.
the far right.
Yeah.
And then I don't know the other ones, but I see a familiar face there. Is that Bill Raymond?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's Bill Raymond.
Yeah. And
He was my mentor. Well, he is my mentor for beekeeping since when I
these are
started.
all my original beekeepers from Tsuut'ina. Because I put it out there, let's get this thing tried out. And so we did. And I managed to get some funding from the nation. And we started with this.
So this was after you had your own bees
It was
for a
after
year
I
or
had
two.
my own bees. And I thought that this is something that a lot of nation members could get involved with.
Yes.
And all those that they're original beekeepers, and that they still have some involvement. They don't necessarily keep bees, but they know how to look after them.
That's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because our nation is like every other First Nations. Coming by money to do projects like this is a hard sell.
Yes.
And this was what was interesting about this is the people that came. A few of the people that came, they're living with their active addictions.
Yeah.
But when they come to this, and the ones that really worked hard were the ones that were struggling with that, and they just loved it.
Yeah.
It was something about them that brought them peace and brought them home.
Yeah.
So that was why it was successful for the length of it was. And every year was a learning. We learned much more about this and much more about that. And we were able to get some major funding because the one thing we found out was the bears. We put up a fence around there and we thought it would be enough, but bears are persistent.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
they are.
And they took care of all the hives and that, and I had to kind of rescue them. And I came in my white suit, trying to, it's the evening and that.
Yeah.
And the bees were all upset and that, and I was trying to load them on my truck. As soon as they saw me, they all just attacked me.
Yeah.
But I still carried them on and put them on the truck and then carried them to my house and rescued them for the winter as best as I could.
Right.
So the next year we had to build a really solid fence. So we built a really solid fence around it.
I'm going to be able to show
Yeah.
you, show people that. So this is not the fence picture.
Yeah, but
it's
it's
coming up.
my mentor, William.
Yes.
Yep.
And we're out in your backyard.
Yeah, just
here.
my backyard there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's just beautiful. I love the looks of that green, and it just the trees, the bushes. It's just so nice. So you kept your bees there.
Yep.
And here is a picture
There's the
with
fence.
the fence.
Yep.
Yes.
And yeah, the fence is about 12 feet,
No, it's 8 foot.
8 foot, and then you got barbed
Barbed
wire.
wire on the outside
Yeah.
that faces out.
No bears getting in.
Well, they still tried. You know, I still had to put a electric fence on the outside.
Yeah.
And there's this one problem bear that we had, an old boar. And when I rescued those bees the first time I brought them to my house, he'd come over there, outside my house, and
So where did you take my food?
yeah, that's really what he came. And he's standing there looking at me in about 10 feet away. And my dog is as brave as he could be. He stood behind me barking.
Behind you.
Behind me, you know. And I just faced off. And that's when you start talking with nature, you know. In our language, nana means bear. You know, it says, I don't want you to take anything of this. You know, I want you to go in that. And I had my rifle with me. It was right by my side. So I talked to him.
Well, the bear could have killed you. You know.
I suppose they could have if he was really anxious, but it's a black bear. If it was a grizzly, different story.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but I talked to him like that, just like you talk to another person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it says these bees are valuable. You know, they're doing a service, and I understand you're hungry, and I can give you something in exchange for that. But I have my gun beside me, and then he stood up. He stood up right looking at me, and I says, "I'm going to lift my gun up here, and I don't want to take your life, you know, but I need you to go." Mm-hmm. So as I lifted my gun, he got back down on his fours. He turned and he walked away. Yeah. That's the relationship I'm talking about. You know, you talk to them just like you talk to anybody else. And then, as he walked away and he was kind of looking back, and I shot over him, and then he took off. And
just as a warning, not to.
Said, I don't want to kill you. You know, you're important here too, but you can't touch these bees.
Yeah.
Yeah, black bear hunting is illegal in Alberta, right? Or you could get
No, I think you can. Grizzly bear.
Or is grizzly?
Grizzly was, but
You can still buy.
I think the moratorium
licenses.
is being rescinded on that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So in this picture, we've got some really nicely crafted, well-built equipment, nicely painted, all lined up, all within the perimeter of a fence. As we described before, it's a really heavy-duty fence with chain link fence with steel posts and then barbed wire at the top of that. And you also had electric wire around the outside so that if a bear comes up smelling, snooping, they're going to touch that wire. And that's going to give them.
You see their footprints in the spring, in the snow.
Yeah.
And we saw this bear, he was walking up there, and you can see where he touched it, and then all of a sudden the tracks just raced away.
Yeah, yeah.
What you kind of see in that picture, just above the center person there, is a blue piece of cloth.
I see it, yes.
Yep. On each side, in the directions, we put a piece of cloth there that's filled with tobacco. We're giving thanks to everything in that. So the blue represents the west. On the north side, it would be red. On the east, it would be yellow. And on the south, it would be white.
There's tobacco inside of it?
Yeah, there's tobacco tied inside of that. Tobacco is ceremonial. It's meant for burning. That's all it really is. And opens up people believe it opens up a level of communication with higher beings.
Right.
But you give a gift like that, you just do that. So you're, like I always talk about this relationship. That's what you're doing, is you're maintaining a relationship like that. And so the very, very first day when we brought in these new bees, when we had 45 hives, 45 packages, and the elder that was there, you saw him in the previous picture there, he's the one that said the prayer for it. And then we do that first, and then everything is okay after that. It's not an afterthought. It's sort of one of your first things you do.
Right.
Gifting of tobacco.
Well, I have a little story that I'd like to share.
Okay.
I was at your place. You were working somewhere outside of the area, and you had 2 packages of bees arrive at your home.
Okay.
And I was there to watch them being installed. And there were 4 or 5 other people there. One was an elder, a woman who came. And this is the weirdest thing because, I'm not a religious person. I'm barely what I would say qualify as a spiritual sort of person, but I have to tell this story. The evening was so beautiful. It was very quiet, and I could hear these frogs in the distance. And they're going, you know, like that in that maybe that same pond where we saw George the duck. I heard that in the distance, and I could hear a coyote howling. And everybody was standing around looking at these two packages, and there was a smudge ceremony, and the smoke came across me and everybody, and then the elders started to talk. As soon as she started to speak, the frogs quit, just like that, and there was no howling of the coyote. And that was for 3 or 4 minutes with just total silence, except for this prayer of thanksgiving and welcoming the bees to your property or to your place, to your home.
Wow.
I thought, okay, what are the chances? Come on, probability statistics, you know. I was really, it just was so nice. I was really happy. I was really moved, I guess is the right word, by that whole experience. So I really appreciated being able to do that. And I saw that welcoming of the bees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they definitely can sense stuff, whether it is God or the universe or whatever you.
Yeah.
Bears, ants, bees, they can feel us and they can hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see a picture of you there, Ron.
That is me. Yes, we're in among some bees that belong to another individual who lived a little further in at the nation, and her name is Sharon.
Yep,
Yeah,
Sharon.
Sharon.
Yep.
And she kept her own bees there as well as participating with the community bees.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I came out to just enjoy, like, I really liked going out and getting the fresh air. And now I'm getting more and more disabled and using my wheelchair almost all the time now. So it gets harder for me to do a lot of things. But this was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I could still get around a little bit better than I do today. And I enjoyed that so much. So we have two photographs up now for people to see. And one is me and that's her son, isn't it? I think that was there at that time.
Yeah, it was her son.
Yeah. And
I can't remember his name right at the top of my head. But yeah.
Yeah, it'll come to me too. It begins with a CH, I think. So like
Chester?
No, not Chester. No. And then the other photograph, we have the door open on the 35 or 40 colonies of bees that were put into this perimeter fence. And it looks like
Patty's there.
Yeah, I was going to say it looks like it's earlier in the spring because the pollen cakes are going on, and there's a clipboard. All the hives were numbered. Is that right?
Yeah, we numbered all of them.
Yep. And let's see. Oh, there's a crew of people who are visiting out there, and then you can see all the bees behind. It's a really good photo for the bees behind. And I was doing some research work at the University of Calgary, and the bees that the community had on Tsuut'ina Nation was not part of my experimental work. I was just a visitor. And I had 2 young students who did so much of the field work for me because it was hard for me to walk and to do, a lot of physical stuff. So they were my helpers. And we had a field day and came out and got to see what a big apiary of honeybees would look like.
Yeah, I think that was 2016 because I see my old truck there.
Okay. Wow. That was
maybe 2017.
19 because it was just before COVID shut everything down in 2020. So it was 2019 that we came out on that occasion anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So your truck was already getting old by then, see?
Oh, yeah.
I like this picture on the left. I want you, Chief Crowchild, to tell us a little bit about why we see all these rocks.
All those rocks that we put on top, well, practical reasons, so it doesn't blow over. That's
Keep the lids on top.
Yeah, but in reality, though, all of those rocks come from my sweat lodge.
Oh.
And we call those grandfathers. We refer to rocks as grandfathers. Why are they called grandfathers? Because they've been here since time immemorial. They've seen the earth exist right from the beginning. So they know all the stories And so when we bring these rocks in, we're acknowledging the longevity of them. And when we say prayers and we splash water on the rocks there in the steam, it's the prayers that are going up there because they're hearing what we're asking for.
Yeah.
And then they send that up there.
Mm.
So when we were getting all these, could have just put anything on top there, but I says, no, I'm going to use the rocks that come from my sweat lodge because we've used them quite a bit.
Right.
So that's what we did. We put them on there.
And you have the boxes painted a shade of yellow. Is that a ceremonial color?
No, it's just that every other bee box is yellow. So we thought, well, might as well just go with what everybody else does.
Right.
Never gave that much thought other than just painting it so it could be a bit weatherproof.
Mm-hmm.
I like wax dipping them. I've never done it, but I've heard that's
People do that. You get hot wax and dip them into it. I don't think it's really that necessary where we are here because of our climate.
wax dipping.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I don't think you need to do that. Yeah, painting, yes, definitely. Yeah, they need painted. And there's a number 31 on one of these rocks.
Yep.
One of the grandfathers, next to one of the grandfathers, on one of the hives next to the grandfather. Yeah, yep. So all the hives were numbered. You had a spreadsheet. You had a logbook, clipboard. So you took notes as you went. The other photograph that we have up at the moment is 3 young people who were dressed up as beekeepers.
Yeah, they're trained beekeepers. One of them actually became quite successful in beekeeping. I haven't seen him for a while though, so I'm not sure how he's making out now. Yeah. But the other 2 men, they're my nephews, but kind of distant relatives. Mm-hmm. They found it, like I says, we helped those that were not sure what to do. Mm-hmm. And these 2 guys, they came there and they were just so eager to help, to be asked to help do something. They just, nobody ever asked us to help, so they came and they helped.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And your bees, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm thinking that they were maybe more about people than they were about collecting honey.
Yes, it's always been that. When I was the chief, I always wanted to make sure that a lot of my community felt that they were involved in something. Mm-hmm. Maybe some of them don't have all the skills needed to do a higher paying job or anything like that, but they're still valuable people to the nation.
Oh, yeah.
And they enjoyed collecting the honey because they could take some home and say, hey, I worked hard to get this jar of honey.
Right, right.
I don't want to lead or anything, but what sort of sense were they getting fulfillment-wise if you were to give a word to it? Were they getting faith? Were they getting hope? Or what sort of enjoyment are they getting? Was it just personal, or if you were to put a word on it?
I think for that day and for every day that comes up, you're doing something meaningful that,
right.
What does it mean for tomorrow? Well, we hope it means something good. We just don't know because we can never figure out what's going to happen for the next day.
Right.
But we do, for all of those 3 men there, they were happy at that moment. They're glad to help out, and they felt valued, and they felt that the chief was respecting them. And I can't ask for much more than that.
Right. No, that's priceless.
And there's Bill again.
Yeah.
Bill was always helpful. We have a lot of from the Calgary Beekeepers Association that were involved from different times, and they all gave important lessons to us because we're all learning in that.
Oh, Bill Raymond is a wonderful mentor to everybody. We had a gentleman from Cameroon, Africa, in here about a month ago to discuss the beekeeping there and so on, and Bill Raymond was involved in mentoring him too. So Bill has made himself he's an experienced beekeeper who likes to share what he knows.
Yep, he is.
Yeah. I would call him up pretty much a lot of times, even at night, sometimes 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and he would answer, and we'd talk about bees and literally we'd talk for hours.
Oh, don't call me at 10 o'clock. I'll hang up on you.
He's lurking on my Facebook from time to time.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we've got a couple of pictures of the honey processing. So
Yeah.
so the bees did make honey,
Yep.
and it was gorgeous, beautiful, white, mild honey. It's just some of the most beautiful honey I think I'd ever seen in my life. But we have, I think I remember the lad on our left. That young man is Brad. Is that
Yep,
Bradley?
Bradley, yep.
And that's your nephew, I think.
Yeah, he's my nephew.
Yes.
We're all related.
Okay.
I can call everybody my nephew.
Everybody's your nephew or your uncle.
Or, no, yeah, I got a few uncles.
Okay. Oh, you're getting to be the
I'm
only
getting-
uncle, aren't
yeah,
you? Yeah, that's the way it
We
goes.
won't talk much about that.
No.
Okay.
But it's beautiful what they're doing. They have a nice outfit here. They got stainless steel equipment for settling the honey.
Yep. And we got a lot out of that. You know, it had a lot of use, all of the stuff we bought.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And here's the packing line, extracting, uncapping,
Yep.
packing honey.
Yeah, they really enjoyed that experience, all of
Yes.
them.
Yes.
None of them ever said, "Oh, this is such a job." No, they genuinely enjoyed doing what they were doing because they have a skill that not too many other people on the reserve have.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. It's something to be proud of, too. And everybody has to have that sense that they've done something unusual, different, and that's good.
Yep.
That's helpful. And
That's really clear. That's really clear honey.
Yeah.
all their honey was like that. So white. It's beyond water white in the classification. So we have a photo now of honey with the Tsuut'ina apiary honey label on it, and you can just see such gorgeous honey. You can see you could read a newspaper if it were held on the other side of that
There's a
jar
mag-
of honey. And next to it we have a photograph of comb honey. So you'd produce some comb honey at the same time.
That was a wild experiment, that one.
Tell us.
We wouldn't have expected that, you know. We put it in there and look at it, okay, it's coming along. And I remember you telling us, you know, sometimes there's nothing, other times it exploded.
Yes.
So we kind of looking, okay, it probably not going to happen. Put it back in, and a couple weeks later, and they're all full. I was just, what? Oh, that
And
was quite something there.
Yeah.
Yeah, those look beautiful.
They are beautiful combs, nice white cappings, and some really mild honey inside of that. Just absolutely great. So I'm not going to ask you if you've ever eaten or tasted any honey.
Yeah, that's me and my mentor, my older brother William.
Yes.
Our first year, and that was actually the picture of us first tasting the honey that the bees
In
made.
June, that first year,
Yeah, the very
your
first year.
package.
Yeah, we both like, wow, this is quite something. So
Oh.
that's what sold us was our taste test.
Yeah.
And we were so nervous around bees then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's normal. And actually, I like to see people well prepared when they're working with the bees because it keeps you more relaxed and calmer. And if you try to go in the way I do after 60 years of fooling around with bees, then I know what to expect and I don't put on the veil. But that's not anything that I'm bragging about. It's just, first of all, I'm partly disabled, so it's hard for me to put on the veil and put on a white suit. But also, when you wear a white suit and gloves, you can afford to be more relaxed.
Yeah.
You can take your time. You can look at the bees. You hear a few flying around your face. That's okay. You know, you get used to it, and then eventually you get to the point where you don't need it or don't feel like you want to have it on.
Yeah, my cousin, he's a beekeeper as well.
Yes.
And the first year he's kind of getting a bit cocky. So he got these gloves, and they're just a regular black work gloves.
Oh yeah.
And he went and then bees, and as soon as they saw his black gloves, they just and they attacked him and that. And
Yeah. Wrong
he got
color.
stung, and he just and he had to go lay down.
Yeah.
And
Is that
shade
Dave?
for all.
Maybe I shouldn't say his name.
Yeah, that's who.
That's who. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
who it is.
I
Yeah.
watched a
Nice
video
guy.
of
Nice guy.
of a point of view of a bee and what they see, and it's interesting. Pretty much, I think you described this, Ron, and it was wild to see a visual of it. It was pretty much like they just see blobs, and then as soon as you start to move, then they can pick up shapes.
Yes.
But it's they don't like. I don't know. The video was the blobs were just yellow and everything was black, so they just see just kind of monotone or whatever it is, and they just see movements, I guess. But
They do see color.
they see color. Okay.
They do certainly see color, and their color vision is a little bit different than what ours is. But Chief Crowchild, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate it. I don't know if there's. I know that you have to run to another meeting, and we've really appreciated having you in here. But if there's anything that we didn't mention that you really would like to come across and add, or would get you back another time.
Oh,
maybe?
certainly. I love this.
I would really appreciate it if we can get you back in.
Okay.
But I always learn so much, and I'm just happy that you're with us. And you spent, if I can just recap just a little bit, another 2 or 3 minutes. You are just back from being on the road with your producing a television show.
Yeah, I'm kind of a co-producer of a TV show.
Yes.
It's been 10 years, 10 seasons now.
Wow.
We just filmed season 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I haven't been involved all 10 years. I just the last 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you find that? Is it a lot of fun to be out there and?
Well, we're on the road for 10 weeks.
Oh.
So we do 13 episodes in 10 weeks. And this year was a little bit tough, because you get a little bit road weary.
Mm-hmm.
But the work is really worthwhile.
Yes.
I mean, if they ask me to do another 13 episodes next week, I say, let's get going.
Okay.
They won't, but yeah.
I love that.
Do you
I
want to
love
give
that.
a little snippet of the show? What's the show about?
Okay, well, it's on APTN, which is the Aboriginal People's Television Network. The title of the show is called The Other Side. So what's that mean? The show is primarily a documentary style on the paranormal.
Wow.
Yeah,
You got
so-
me interested.
Yeah, so you get the cultural context of what we see as on the other side.
Yeah.
No, that's...
You'll have to start watching it.
I will have to start watching it, yes.
Yeah,
I used to watch Ghost Hunters or Ghost Chasers. I don't know if that's...
Yeah.
Is it something
I
like...
guess that is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of it gets sensationalized because it has to fit the audience to create that fear factor or something like that. But that's not what we do. We're giving it context. Yeah. So, yeah, there are some... The episodes come across as being really mysterious, and they are. But you do 3 days of shooting and you put it into a half-hour show. There's a lot of things that have to get dropped.
Right.
Yeah.
And you also, you're producing the show. Are you also partaking in some of the footage?
I'm mostly a cast member and an advisor.
I see.
I'm not really the producer. I just help. I'm an associate producer, I guess.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they usually have like a slew of producers.
Yeah.
And they all
I'm just another name in there.
guide the direction of the...
Yeah.
But no, that's really cool. I will have to watch that. But I honestly would like to talk more about it. I don't know how much more time we have.
No, not
but
today.
Yeah,
not today. But
yeah.
we'll come back with that at another time if
Yep.
you're able.
Oh,
and
just call me.
I'd love to. I'd love to have you back in.
Yep.
And there's more details we could talk about your bees and what you learned but it's eye opening. We're just really pleased, really tickled that we could get you in here because I know how busy you are. You've got so much on the go. You just, like you said, was it yesterday? You had a meeting with Calgary's mayor, and other folks who, were in there, and it's just amazing how an old guy like you just keeps on going. Huh?
Okay then.
Okay then. Now you're not coming back. No, Chief Crowchild, we love you. We really appreciate everything
We'll see you
you've
guys
done.
soon.
Okay.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And bye, folks. It's been great. Bidzina, do you want to take us home?
Yes, this is episode 1 of season 2. We're going to cut it right here, sweet and short, just like you guys like it. I don't.
Okay, thanks, folks. Thanks again.